Hello. Come on in. Hello. Waiting for people to come in. Hope somebody comes. Ouch, that's hot. It's going to be bad if people don't come. Who have we got? Who's still with me here? It'll just be a private chat. Hello, welcome. Emily, are you still with me? Hello, hello. We are going to get started. I was trying to wait and see if any more people came in. We are going to talk about how to teach your little ones to obey without having to spank, yell, or lose your mind. So if you have friends that you think would benefit from this, hello, if you have friends that you think would benefit from learning how to get your little ones to obey without spanking, screaming, or losing your mind, would you go ahead and share this with them and invite them to come on in? We've got a small group, so we probably have room for some good conversation here. How do you do it? What do you swipe to the one side if you're on the iPhone and up if you're on Android? And just invite people to come on in. It might help some people. So, hello. Who have we got with us today? And what ages are your kiddos? You want to start with that? And maybe tell like what's a discipline frustration or thing that you're stumped on? Maybe we can start there. I know some of you have kids. Why else would you be here? That tea is still hot. All right, well, I'm Erica Johns from enrichmentstudies.com. Enrichment Studies helps homeschool families incorporate more fine arts into your life. We have composer study, artist study, art appreciation, and lots of other good stuff that is budget friendly and doesn't run on a whole lot of mom power. So I am Erica Johns. I'm a homeschool mother. I've been homeschooling my 6 kids for most of the last 18 years. My children range in age from 12 to 23. At this point, I have 4 children that are still at home. The 2 oldest ones are graduated, and so I've got, kids ages 12, 14, 15, and 17 that are still at home, and so we're just homeschooling for the long haul here. And so today I saw, I'm not a really good advance planner for Periscope, which probably is not to my benefit as far as getting a lot of people here, but when something comes up that, thank you for the hearts, I appreciate that. When I see some issue that comes up and I, all of a sudden like, yeah, I've got an opinion about that, I feel like hopping on here and talking about it. And that's what happened this morning. I saw on, are you familiar with Raising Real Men? Hal and Melanie Young. They've got a website, raisingrealmen.com. And on their Facebook page, they had somebody who had sent in a question asking for advice. She had a 3-year-old that, I think she said a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And she was wanting the 3-year-old, hello, welcome. She wanted the 3-year-old to be picking up. And so she was trying things like, she was trying things like setting a timer for him and whatever. And like, she had told him to pick up his toys and it had taken 3 hours and she was wondering about that. And I thought, oh no, this is someone who really needs advice about 3-year-olds and also a lot of other stuff. And so anyways, it just got my, am I related to anyone in Arizona? No, I don't think I am. Are you? So it got my thoughts going, and of course, having been a parent for 23 years now, we've kind of had, an evolution of our thoughts and practices on, I guess, discipline and managing kids and whatever. And really where we've settled is what I call leadership parenting. And so I just thought I'll start with kind of giving you a backstory. When I grew up, my parents spanked. I think everybody's parents spanked. And it wasn't like beating spankings or anything, but it was like if you did a wrong thing, you knew that maybe you were going to get a spanking when your dad got home from work or whatever. And my husband also got spanked. And I think when we had kids, well, of course, when you first have your first child, you think they're perfect, but then eventually you learn that they're not. And then maybe spanking comes into play. And I found that, because I loved him so much, I didn't want to spank him, but then I'd give him, if I'd tell him to do something, he wouldn't do it. I'd give him another chance and I'd keep asking and whatever. And by the time you've waited and you've asked and the child hasn't done the thing, now you're getting frustrated. And then by the time it came down to like, now it's going to be the spanking, I was angry. And I thought, I really don't need to be spanking anybody when I'm angry. And so that was sort of a like, how's that going to work? Because pretty sure we shouldn't be spanking when we're angry. And how do you not feel angry when your child has just blown you off, 10 times in a row for the thing that you've asked them to do? Can you identify? Give me some feedback here. So that was just sort of an idea that I had that I didn't really feel like spanking was a wise choice because it seemed like there was too much emotion that went with it. And then, when I looked into the not spanking crowd, it seemed like you had a lot of really sweet people who loved their kids a lot, but whose kids were terrors because they weren't spanking and they also weren't doing anything. And so it was just, Jesse, pick that up. Jesse, pick that up. And it was just like this weak, ineffective approach to to getting your kids to cooperate with you. And so that didn't really seem to make sense either. You know, over the course of 23 years, we've been familiar with the Pearls book, which I do not recommend. We've been familiar with the Ezzos, which I was never on board with, but I understand their philosophy. Never bought into that, but you know, my parents were big on James Dobson and, like, you know, the whole strong-willed child thing and whatever. And one of the things that I noticed about a lot of these, not the no spanker people, hello, but a lot of the other stuff is it seems like it's set up the parent-child relationship as adversarial. It was like, you know, your kids are bad, your kids are sinners, you know, and what you're going to be doing is, you know, tell them what to do, and then, you know, boom, when they don't do it, it's a spanking. And how was I? Yes, I understand that, Naomi. Yeah, so this idea that you were trying to, like, you know, catch your kids and then you're going to spank them and that was going to teach them the thing to do. I didn't like pretending not to see anything that needs to be done. Yes. It's like selective hearing and selective blindness, right? So anyways, I didn't really like that idea of the adversarial thing where it's like, you know, your kids weren't, you know, you weren't all on the same team. And, you know, I have come to really think of our family as like our tribe. This is our team. And I wanted to work together. And one of the things that I've found is you want to motivate with love, and you want to teach with love, and you want your kids to really know that you're coming, or at least I want my kids to know that I'm coming from a place where I truly am coming toward them with a good heart, and with my heart in the right place. Let's see. So basically, okay. First of all, I am the queen of my castle, and I don't need to scream and yell at anybody. When you let a thing escalate, you're losing power and you're starting to look desperate. And that's never a good thing. Sorry, I feel like between the hearts and the comments now, I'm like getting a little scattery. Let me back up. Okay, here's what you do. You have to be willing to get up off your butt and work with them and teach them and show them what you want. And you don't do it in an intimidating way. You don't do it in an angry way. You do it with love and with kindness and with fun. I'll give you an example. The other day, I have a little granddaughter. She is almost 1.5, and her mom, you know, wanted her to bring something to her. And like a lot of children at this age, you know, her first reaction was like, you know, I'm not going to. And she's like walking away, but she's watching mom to see what's going to happen. You know, do I really have to do it or whatever? And I got up and I said to her, honey, let's go take this to mommy. Mommy said that you need to give this to her. So that's what we have to do. And I just kind of, you know, take my arm around her and just like, you know, we're going to go over and we're going to give it to mommy. Oh, thank you. Good job. It starts like that. Okay. When you're going to tell them a thing, pick your time so that it's a time when you're going to be able to, and when you are willing to get up and make it happen. And again, I don't mean this in a threatening way. I don't mean this in a mean way. I mean this in a leadership way. So what you want to do is start when they're little, and you just want to help them kind of get it in their mind that when you are telling them something, that they need to do it, that now is the time. If you are doing the thing where you're saying, hey, pick up those blocks, and they don't do it, and then you say, hey, come on, pick up the blocks, and this continues and repeats, do you know what you taught them? That when you say pick up the blocks, they don't have to pick up the blocks. Okay? That's what you're teaching, is now isn't actually the time. You know, I've seen, sometimes you see things on Facebook or whatever where people say like, you know, why do I have to get, you know, crazy and screaming to get anybody to do anything around here? You know why? Because that's what you taught them. That by the time you're screaming and crazy, that's when you mean business. So do you really want to only mean business when you're already emotional and aggravated and your emotions feel escalated? No. What you want is to say, let's pick up the toys, and have people say, okay, let's pick up the toys, and they get it done. That's what you want. What I didn't want was to have my kids worried that I was going to spank them or scream at them if they didn't do it. What I want is for my kids to just say, hey, let's do this because mom told us to do this. Plain and simple. And so it starts when they're little with, you choose your time wisely to make your request or tell them what it is that you need to do, and then you're just ready to follow through with them. And obviously with little ones, with something like picking up, you're going to need to pick up with them. We're going to pick up, and you make it educational. Let's pick up the blocks. Oh, can you get that red one over there? Oh, thank you. Look, this one has an E on it. Can you get that? Oh, I got 2 yellow blocks. This is part of how you teach them. You just join in. Even as adults, do you like it if people are just like, oh, go do that thing? Or do you like it if someone says, hey, can you help me load this dishwasher? Or can you help me set the table? It's fun to do things together. It's more pleasant usually. How much more so is that true for children? They want mommy to do things with them. They want daddy to do things with them. They don't want you to just bark orders at them, right? So, it starts like that. And this works for older kids too. We've had a situation where we had children in our home for a while that had, let's see, how can I say, hadn't been in a really they've been in kind of a lax atmosphere, okay? So they've been used to the pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, sort of repetitive request with no follow through kind of a thing. And while they were with us and they were even 6 and 8 years old, we just started in with a very kind and caring approach of okay, now we're going to do this. And then if they're I'm not going to do it, and you're yep, and you just get up and you're yep, this is what's going to happen. We've got to do this thing, and you just kind of usher them along and you get it done. I find that as soon as they see you get up, they're oh, she means it. I actually have to do that thing, and it for most kids, I think it doesn't even go farther than that. Not to say that you would not have an exception to the rule, because everybody does. But do you have any questions? Is there any feedback you want to give right now, or should I just keep going and going? I find, I don't know, this probably sounds mean. I feel like you have to be willing to do the work in parenting. And the work is not just reaction, okay? When you're using spanking as your reaction, when you're using nagging as your reaction, when you're using yelling as your reaction, to me that's a form of lazy parenting, because you didn't want to actually physically get up and take care of business, okay? And I don't mean it you're a terrible lazy person, but just, you got to be willing to do the work. And so, sorry, I'm getting distracted by too many things coming up on my computer screen. Any questions right now? I'm going to look at my paper and see what else I wrote down. The thing is, with the leadership parenting model, leaders lead. Leaders aren't yelling. Leaders aren't desperate. Leaders aren't nagging. Leaders are leading the way. And I think when you have that kind of sweet relationship with your kids, and you are a balanced person, they want to please you. They love you, so it's not so hard typically to, to get their cooperation on stuff. But you do need to kind of, you're getting, okay, 16 is a special age. I have had a 16-year-old daughter. And also it sounds like you've been through some tough stuff with whatever was happening with custody. It's harder. Okay, with teenagers, if you haven't been in the habit of this, I think you still need to let them know that you mean business. I'll give you an example. I had a 16-year-old daughter at one point whose job was cleaning the bathroom on Saturday mornings or something like that. And she had been told, and this is oh, my kids are big enough now, nobody should have to have all these reminders and coaxing and whatever. But for whatever reason, it wasn't getting done. And I had given her a friendly reminder of, hey, I need you to get this done by noon or whatever was the deadline. I think we're having people over or something. And, she wasn't getting it done. And so I quietly walked into her room. She was still sleeping. And I picked up her computer, her iPod, her phone, and I walked out. And you know what? She knew what it was about. And there was no screaming. It wasn't mean. It was just, this is how it's going down. All these things are not in your possession till you get your stuff done. So, and it's obviously, this is not something that I recommend for people who are unbalanced, demanding, crazy parents, okay? But if your kid has a reasonable amount of chores and you're giving them, reasonable warning or whatever, you're working with the quirks and the particularities of your child, if you're a reasonable person, so once you've made your reasonable request, your reasonable 16-year-old should be able to do it. And if they can't, then you kind of just start to lock things down a little bit. Does that help, Naomi? Does that seem, and if not, tell me. I just have just a phone her dad pays for she doesn't even hang out with. I'm waiting for part 2. Okay. Well, Naomi, it may be, okay, and it's not just always that it's like take a thing away from them that they care about, but it's just finding what makes them tick. And, sometimes with my kids, all it really takes is for me to say to them, hey, I got a ton of stuff I'm trying to do. I'm supporting you in your stuff. And, you just have this small amount of stuff to do, and I just need you to hold up your end of the bargain. We all need to do, take care of our responsibilities. And, I just really need your help. Is there something going on? Is there anything I can do for you? Is there some reason why this isn't getting done? Sometimes your kids will really respond well to you just being heart to heart with them. Hey, I need your help. We all need your help. And if you don't do your thing, then, the wheels start to come off. Now, when you've got kids that are hurting, when you've got kids at, particular stages of teenagerhood or whatever they're going through, sometimes there's bigger things going on, and there may be periods of time where your kid does just lay low and you don't get a lot of cooperation out of them. I guess that's one big difference between me and a lot of people who are big on first-time obedience. I think it's great to have that goal of helping teach your kids, when you ask, you mean it. Oh, good. But I guess with me, I don't feel like I always have to win. Okay? My big picture goal that I always have in mind is, remind me to come back to you, Leslie. My big picture, my goal that I always have in mind with my kids is this is about the strength of the relationships. For those of you that have littler kids, you might not be familiar with this. Years ago, I got to go through a course called Parental Guidance Required that is by Andy Stanley and Reggie Joyner. And it put words to what I already believed and kind of gave me a structure to kind of round out what I was already believing about my parenting journey. And one of the things it talks about is the dynamic, the what's the thing called? You've got control and influence. Okay, and so when your kids are little, you have all the control. You're deciding where they're going to go and how you're going to feed them, and will you have them in preschool or will you homeschool, or will they need a jacket today? You have all the control at this one end. But at the other end of the spectrum, once they are grown, all you will have is influence if you've earned it. If they choose to let you in. Okay? So this means once they get to the point where they're buying cars, when they're choosing who they're going to marry, when they're making big, high value, high risk decisions in life, you might be in and you might be out. And the strength of your relationship and the what you've built on is what's the foundation for that, okay? So my goal is to have really, really strong relationships with my kids all through their lives. I want them to know that I'm with them and I'm for them and I support them and that they can trust me. And, it doesn't mean that they always, take your advice or that you're always going to agree. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is your relationship with your kid, no matter if they're 2 or 22 or 32 or whatever. So sometimes, like when you've got a hurting teenager or just, whatever, they're going through their stuff and they're real grumpy, if you're really having a hard time getting cooperation out of them, you winning, to me, is not the most important thing. Them knowing that you're with them and you're for them, to me, is the most important thing. A lot of times teenagers are going through stuff you don't know. I don't care if your kids have been homeschooled. I don't care if, what kind of family you are. They have their stuff. They've got their friends that have problems. They have, there's things that are going on. And, it may be hard for people with younger kids to appreciate or realize this, but, the day will come when your kids are going to have bigger things than you may know. So just love them. And that doesn't mean let them run you down, but there needs to be a balance. And I think when you keep in mind, what is the goal here? If the goal is the strength of the relationships, I think that gives you a guideline. I think you will probably already instinctively know what the guideline is. Now, if your goal is to always win and to have your kids always know that, it's your way or the highway, you can accomplish that as well. But you may be trading in, short-term convenience for you for a long-term loss later on if they resent you or, distrust you or have just been, enduring you until they didn't have to anymore, So I don't think you need to be in fear, particularly, that your kids are going to hate you. But good. But I just think you need to be aware, that they've got their own opinions in their mind, regardless. You can always force people to have outward behavior, but you don't get to control what they're inwardly thinking and feeling about you. So what you can do is do your part to have a really good, strong, loving relationship with your kids. So, I'm glad, Naomi, that you said that was helpful to you. Any other, let's see, somebody, I think Leslie said something about 2-year-old. It's been a hard transition. Yeah, they're getting, little ones. Like I said, I've got a 1.5-year-old granddaughter, and she's very busy. And it's funny, I've been a mom for a long time, but it's been a long time since I had somebody that age. And, and it's so fun, and they're so delightful, and they're learning so many things, and, it's so cool in so many ways, but they're also like learning to say no and learning their power about stuff. And so I really think for most little kids, taking the friendly route of, if you tell them to do something, then it's just, come on, now we're going to do it. And then, we're going to do it. Like the lady that was asking for advice that I saw earlier today, where she's wanting a 3-year-old to clean up everything with a timer. Like that's developmentally probably too young for that. With 3-year-olds, capitalize on that opportunity. Hey, Jason, we're going to pick up the box now. And, whatever, you count, you talk about what it is, or even if you sing the cleanup song from Barney or whatever it is, just make it sweet, make it fun. Because I'll tell you what, you're the one setting the tone for your children, and if you go into the situation behaving like it's adversarial, that's what they're going to believe it is, and they will play their part, okay? But if it's like, hey, buddy, we're going to pick this stuff up, or we're going to clean the table, or you want to help mommy, dust, or whatever, when you make it like, lucky us, we get to do this thing together, and oh, look at this, nice table, we get to clean our table, we had good food, and now we're going to clean, and then we'll be able to do the next thing, now we can color or do Play-Doh or whatever, you're getting it in their head that, that this is good stuff, they want to do this. Like the calm down jars with glitter. I don't know about that. You have to tell me more about it. Is it like a snow globe sort of a thing or something? Tell me more. Set the tone, make it sweet, make it fun. And I know like a lot of people with little ones, you also have a baby. So sometimes you're like nursing the baby or whatever. And so you can't get up, you need them to help you, but you can't physically get up and do the thing maybe or whatever. I understand that. I was there. I have 6 kids, okay? And they were all born in like 10 years. So been there, done that, which is why I wasn't as good at this when they were little as I got when they were a little bit bigger. That's why I say pick your timing wisely. If you know that you are too tired, too sick, or you should, oh, good. That's cool. So it helps them like kind of chill out. Is that the point of it? If you know that you're not going to be able to follow through, don't make the request, okay? I mean, if you like totally need help, please bring mommy a burp cloth right away. Sure, ask. And you know what? When they're already like on your side, they're going to do it for you. Like, this is why I say, like, if you can start when they're little, like, you got a buddy for life, if they're already like programmed, like, I help my mom. Easy, you got it. So, but if you know that you've got a kiddo that you're still working with on this and they need a lot of leadership with it, wait till you can lead, okay? Don't do it when you're too tired and you're distracted or whatever. That's not the time. So blocks can wait till later. And yes, sometimes it's like you want to multitask. You're getting, the baby's going to fall asleep while they're eating and you want the blocks picked up so everyone can take a nap. I understand. And you're going to have to kind of weigh out your priorities for, how desperate you are for one thing or the other. But I think if you just remember that if you make an investment up front to help, kind of usher your kids through this, eventually it's going to be very easy. You're not going to have to do every single thing. Just figure out how to discipline that works for everyone. You mean everyone, all of your kids, Leslie, or universal? And when you say discipline, do you mean leadership or you mean like a punishment if they did something wrong? Tell me what you're looking for. Oh, for you and her. Okay, well, I really think for 2-year-olds, it's, get up and do, show them what it is that you want and show them that when you said it, it happens. So seriously, like if you say it's time to pick up the blocks, like for 2-year-olds, I wouldn't even wait to see if they pick up the blocks. I would just stand up and say, okay, Jenny, we're going to pick up the blocks now. And then you're going to show her, here's what we're going to do. And if she's, trying to not do it, like you coax her in, you say, oh, come on. Oh, can you get this one? And, and it's just a lot of, praise and it's fun and, we can count or, when they get older, like 4, 5, 6, like sometimes they really like to have a timer. Like my kids, we used to call it beat the clock, and we would set a timer, and I'd decide how long I thought it would take to, pick up the living room. I'd say, you guys, I think we could pick up this living room in 5 minutes. We're going to set the timer. We're going to see if we can beat the clock. And they would be like, okay, and they're all excited, and we're going to beat the clock. And, and you set your timer, you put on fun music, and everyone, go, and we'd run around, and we'd try to beat the clock and clean up. It's fun. It's a game. My kids are big now, and they still talk about beat the clock. You make it enjoyable. And obviously, yes, we all know that, there's jobs everyone has to do that aren't fun or whatever. Great. Your kids aren't 30, they're 3, they're 2, they're whatever, plant happy seeds, those are all going to grow, just, you can get their cooperation, you can teach them to cooperate, but you can do it in such a sweet and loving way. So you're getting both things that you want, A, the cooperation, and B, the long-term gains of that strong, loving, friendly, cooperative relationship with your kids. So that's it. Any other questions? I'm going to look at my little list here. Okay, good luck, Leslie. You have to come back on another scope and follow me and tell me how it goes for you. Scattery. Any other questions? Yeah, I'll be looking forward to hearing that. I think one of the hardest things for me was when we started out with our oldest one, we really didn't have any good sense of like what age we should be having him do certain things or whatever. So really it went kind of like a long time. He was like so wild and woolly, like even when he was 4 and 5. And we were just, to us, I mean, he was just the most perfect, adorable, sweet little child. And we had only one child. So, well, eventually we had two. But we could tolerate a lot more nonsense because we had fewer children. And as we had more children, we could tolerate less, less of certain kinds of behaviors, and we just had to get better and better at coaxing them along. And you know, I'm much better by my 6th kid than I was with my first kid at a lot of things. But what I always did have good was that I was crazy about my kids, and I know what I want at the end of this journey. And I'll tell you, you know, when the kids are little, you feel like it's so far off. I know, like, everybody tells you this. You know, it's like, so, you know, like, the years fly by. And you're like, yeah, old person. Okay, you know. But, like, it's so weird, like, now that I'm at this stage of my life that I'm like, holy mackerel, like, all those things people say, it's like you, like, understand it to your core. Like, oh, this is it. It's happening, you know. And here now I've got, you know, my oldest son, and he's a father, and, you know, I got, you know, this next year my 3rd child's turning 18, and so just like, oh my gosh, like in the next 5.5 years I'm gonna launch my final 4 kids. You know, it's just gonna go that fast. So, you know, it goes fast, and it's really, really so cool to see how they turn out. But it's really, really cool if you have a strong relationship with your kids and you enjoy their company and they enjoy your company, and they're actually voluntarily willing to come and hang out with you and talk to you and seem to care about what you have to say. 6 kids, 22, 20, 16, 14, 8, and 6. So similar to us, except you've got a couple younger ones too. Yeah. So, you know, I think, good. You're better with the boys than the girls. Why do you think that is, Naomi? I'd be curious to know. I have 5 boys and only 1 girl. So I don't really have like a whole like boy-girl comparison. All my kids have been a blast, and they're all really different. It's not like the boys are just one way, or you know, whatever. I think every child is unique. So, but yeah, tell me more about that if you want to, Naomi. So, but I think that's the biggest thing, is just, you know, you have to be willing to get up and actually do the work. Little thing on my, hopefully I didn't just lose you guys. I think I've learned it doesn't work at that age. Yeah. I think sometimes when you feel really stumped, which I do still, I have things sometimes that come up and I just think like, why is this happening? And, you know, interestingly, when a lot of things, you're still learning from the older kids. It's interesting to get their feedback when they tell you what they think you did right or wrong. I've actually picked my bigger kids' brains about different things, and that's been really helpful to know what stuck with them and what they think was like the secret sauce. Like my daughter that's 19, when I asked her, you know, what do you think why do you think it's worked well to like not really need spanking and yelling and whatever, and she said, just because we love you and we just want to help. You know, it was just like, you're our mom, you know, of course we want to help. And it was like, yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, if you've got their heart, it's not so hard to get their cooperation. And not that they're perfect. I mean, they're still kids and they don't want to do their chores any more than you want to do yours, you know. So you're all human together. But, you know, love goes a long way through so many things. I feel like I was just going to say something else and then I got off track. Help. What was I saying? Oh, when you have a stumper, when you have something come up and you think, I don't know why, you know, if it's something where the kid doesn't seem like they want to cooperate with you, you know, you will have to wonder like what's going on with them. And maybe they're going to tell you, you know, maybe you can press in and not like, you know, what's going on with you, you know, none of that, but just like, you know, hey, you know, you seem like you're down, or you seem like you're pulling away, or you're disconnected or whatever. You're like, are you okay? Is there anything I can help you with? And I'll tell you a secret, when they get old enough to have those kinds of problems, they rarely want to talk to you at a time when it's convenient for you. It's usually like 11:45 p.m. when you're dog tired. And then they're ready to talk, when you're the only two people left out in the living room. And you know what? You dig deep, you sit down, and you listen. Even if it's till 3 o'clock in the morning, you listen. And you get real good at that with your teenagers, because you need to be ready to listen when they are ready to talk. They're not going to talk at some, while you're making dinner and everybody's roaming around the kitchen or whatever, usually. Sometimes they might, but it's a different season. When you have the little ones, it's tiring for a particular set of reasons. When you have big ones, the challenges come in a different way, and you'll grow with that. And again, if you're letting love lead you, it's not so hard to know what you need to do. If you have things around your house that aren't going well, and you feel like, why isn't anybody picking up their shoes or whatever is your thing, and you're like, oh, this is a recurring frustration or whatever. Usually when I think why, you know why? Because I didn't make it happen. Because I didn't actually provide the leadership to make it happen. A lot of times I think, well, of course, like I've got some kids, one kid with a room that's really in disarray, but you know what? He needs better shelving. He doesn't really have enough storage space to put stuff away. So I really haven't provided yet what he needs to be successful. So me, making him feel bad because his room isn't clean, what's that going to do? I need to do my part. So my part is, what do we need here? How can we make this happen? How can we bring a success about? So I think when you're willing to look at yourself and, possible shortcomings that, you've contributed that have caused a problem, or just ways that you can raise the success level of a thing, that's really powerful too. And I think a lot of times parents can feel like it might be a sign of weakness or something if they are willing to see that they've, failed in some way or whatever. I don't see it that way. I think it's way smarter. I think it's really good to look and see, like, you can only change yourself, right? So if you look and you go, oh, I see where I could have done better on this. I see where I could have provided more consistency so that we could get our chores done, or, pick up our books when we came home from school, or whatever is your thing. Look here first, because that might be the answer. But also, you're modeling a way of being for your children that says, that you're not just looking at everybody else as being the problem. Instead, you're saying, like, how can I make this better? And then other people can say, how can I make this better? And you can all just be having the same goal. Do we want to have a peaceful home that's, picked up? Or do we want to be able to get our schoolwork done in an amount of time? Or whatever is the shared goal or value that you have, what can we all do together to make it work? There's been times when I've apologized to my kids. I go on and I say, like, wow, this room. And then, if he says, well, I don't really know what to do with this. I don't really have a place for this. And instead of me being all, rah, 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 it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I see that you need a place to put your shoes, and you really don't have that, do you? Huh? And then maybe you look online, you look on Amazon, would you like one of these? Or what do you think would be helpful for the type of, basketball shoes you have? Well, where could we put it? What would feel helpful to you? You're just, it's like you're being like a normal person and treating them with respect. And, you can start respecting your kids from the time they're born. They don't have to be teenagers to get to where they deserve respect. Just find out, what do they need? How can you help? How can we make this more successful? Usually if people have a way to get things done easily, they like to. They want to have a nice space to do their stuff or whatever too. And for little ones, what do they want? They want mommy to smile. They want you to be happy with them. That's what they want. They want a snack. They want a hug. They want things to be good. And so, gosh, enjoy those years. Any other questions or anything? If not, I'm gonna wrap up for the day. So I hope this hasn't been too scattery. It's been helpful. I've thought for a long time about writing blog posts or something about this and haven't done it. This seems like a more productive way to talk. So hopefully it's come across well and has made sense to you guys, and I'm glad that some people said that it was helpful to them. So if you're not already following me, please do. I think if you swipe to the right, you'll be able to see a spot where you can choose to follow me, and I talk about all sorts of different stuff. I haven't done a ton of scoping yet, but I talk about other mothering and parenting things, talk about homeschooling things, talk about home management things. So we've got all sorts of stuff that will come up. I hope to do a lot more regular scoping in the new year. So I'd love to follow you back and find out what you talk about too, and see you again and hear how things have worked for you. So that's all for today.